Alright guys, on today's video what I'm going to be doing is talking about one of the great stories that we hear in Sunday school and from behind the pulpit, a story of deep, rich faith. It was one of my personal favorites when I was studying to be a pastor. I looked toward it and I always felt that it was just a real big story of faith. And when I began going through it again, looking at it, disconnecting myself from the pulpit and from what was being taught in church and from other sources, from religion, I began to see a very different story. One that wasn't of faith, but one that was of child abuse, cruelty. But we're going to delve into the Bible and we're going to see if maybe it's just my atheistic, immoral values that are looking at this story and going, well, I don't know, or if there's actually something here. So, again, any one of you guys, read the whole story if you need to. I'll read the important parts. Again, not trying to cherry pick like preachers do, but, just get into this, make my videos not too long. But again, do the research yourself. Get back with me. Let me know what you think. So, we're going to go ahead and open up our good word. Let's see. Here we go. Genesis chapter 22. And we will begin reading in verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and a clave of wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went into the place which God had told them. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw a place afar. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar of wood. And Abraham stretched forth his knife, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called upon him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Now, any one of you wonderful Bible scholars that are out there, this isn't entirely true, this passage, when he says thine only son. Because he already had a son, Ishmael, 13 years earlier. He didn't die, because this story would have been told. So when they sit here and he says, thine only son from me, that story is automatically not true. And again, this is any one of you guys that, know the Bible, go find that and explain that to me. Why we know that 13 years earlier he had a son named Ishmael, but here in this passage, God says thine only son. I don't get that. For those of you that haven't read the Bible, I don't expect you to get into that thinking, that that's irrelevant and immaterial. And that's not even the point of where I'm going with this. That was just a little nugget for the fundamentalists out there that are convinced that this is the infallible Word of God, the perfect inspired Word of God. I need that answered. So if you guys could get back with me on that, I'd appreciate it. But my problem with this, the first 12 verses of chapter 22 of Genesis, he takes his son up to the altar and raises his knife, which is what I was using as a bookmark in my Bible, raises the knife above his son. It's going to kill him. And then at the last minute, God takes the Hollywood ending and says, no, don't. And the angel says, that we know now that that your faith is legit. So there's no need to do this. Now this got me to thinking, if God is perfect, and God is all-knowing, which Christians have clearly established that he is infallible, God already knows that Abraham's faith is strong and that he would do the crazy shit that he asked him to do. And people can say that, oh, well, it's really just about the symbolism of what would happen later with God sacrificing Jesus as his only son and the sacrifice that he made for salvation. And to that, I would say, okay, I get that. But can you imagine being the kid, being Isaac, that's sitting there looking at your father raise the knife while you're laying, you're bound to an altar. This kind of puts like some Indiana Jones type mentality, like Temple of Doom in my head. But that mentality of you're bound to an altar, you're ready to be sacrificed, your father has the knife above you. Think about that. You're tied. You can't move. Your father has a knife, and you're on that altar. You can't move. You're about to die. I don't know about you, but that is the biggest form of child abuse out there. One of the worst things you could ever do to a child. And this is what God is doing to test someone's faith. Something to which, if by his very own definition of parameters, he already knows the answer. So I don't understand. Again, maybe it's my atheistic lack of morals, but I do not understand how, even if this story is supposed to be symbolic for what God would do for Jesus, how is that justified? Which, again, people that take the Bible literally and say that it is the perfect book for morals, I have yet to find that in this story. And where I used to read it, and I'd be like, man, that's faith. When you look at it from the kid's perspective, that's fucked up. If we were to watch something on the news about a father bounding their child up, tying them so that they can't move, and ready to kill them, there would be no doubt in my mind that all the fucking atheists would be going, oh, those damn... that's what religion gets you. And all the fundamentalists would also be going, oh, those extremists, that's what religion will get you. It's all the same. It's not justified at all. But because it's in your book, your holy book, you guys will take it at face value, not think about the consequences of what's actually being said, and you will look at it like I used to do, as a story of faith, and be happy about it. So I would sit here today, and I'm not going to ask any one of you guys to research this subject anymore, read more into the the story or the chapter. God, that shit doesn't need to be read. And honestly, it's kind of nauseating when you think about it. But that's what I want you guys to do after this video. I don't want any responses from people that are going to sit there and, justify the actions of God. What I would like you guys to do is put yourself in Isaac's place and think about your father. And think about your father wrapping you up, tying you up, and with a knife, just like this, above you. What would you do? What would go through your mind? Just tell me what would go through your mind. Not any spiritual justification or anything like that. Like I want to know what would go through your mind. Because for me, it most certainly wouldn't be, man, God's great. Gee golly, I'm going to be a sacrifice. All right, I hope it's painful. Ha! Like that's not at all what I would be thinking. I would be thinking, damn, this is fucked up. Because you know what? It's pretty fucked up.